Hi, welcome to The Critical Edge, a series where we explore how intelligent systems, smart design, and forward-thinking technology are shaping the way we protect, manage, and enhance the world around us. Today, I'm starting a new mini-series focused on fire regulations, beginning here at the House of Commons in London. So fire safety in the UK starts with legislation, and this is where the laws are debated and passed, and where the legal duties for building owners, designers and operators are set out. Parliament defines the framework, it decides what needs to be achieved, but it doesn't get involved in how fire detection systems are designed or what technology should be used. And once that legislation is in place, responsibility moves away from the lawmaking and into policy and oversight. And that's where the Home Office comes in. The Home Office is responsible for overseeing fire safety legislation and shaping national fire policy, which is why I'm heading there next. Right, let's go. So I'm now standing in front of the Home Office. This is where the intent of fire safety legislation is interpreted and turned into national policy, including responsibility for the fire and rescue services across the UK. What the Home Office doesn't do is approve products, design fire detection systems, or specify technologies. Instead, it sets the direction, leaving the technical detail to guidance, standards, and professional judgment. And that's where standards bodies play such an important role. Organisations like the British Standards Institution, along with European and international standards committees, translate legislation and policy into practical guidance. They define things like system categories, detector spacing, testing methods, and commissioning requirements. And standards are essential because they bring consistency and repeatability. But they're also based on consensus and historical data, which means they can take time to catch up with new risks and new technologies. And of course, standards, they're only really guidance. The real test comes when they're applied on the ground, and that's where enforcement plays its role. So let's go have a look where enforcement is carried out. So I'm now standing outside the National Fire Chiefs Council building, or NFCC, here on Shelton Street in London. It's fair to say the surroundings are a little more modest than the Parliament or the Home Office, but this is where fire safety becomes very real very quickly. The NFCC represents the UK's fire and rescue services, who are responsible for enforcing fire safety legislation and responding when incidents occur. Their job is to assess whether buildings meet the required legal duties and standards, but not to insist on the most advanced technology being available. And this is one of the causes where we see the gap between compliance on paper and performance in the real world. But there's one more influence on fire safety we need to have a look at, one that often gets overlooked: insurance companies. So insurers don't write legislations or standards, but they do assess risk. They look at things like loss history, business interruption, asset value, and resilience. And in many cases, insurers encourage protection measures that go beyond minimum compliance because their focus is on reducing loss, not just meeting requirements. So when you look at fire safety across the UK, it really operates at multiple layers. So legislation sets the responsibilities, the policy defines the intent, the standards provide the guidance, the fire authorities enforce compliance, and insurers focus on real-world risk. The regulations establish the baseline, but the safety, resilience, and early detection are ultimately all shaped by design decisions. So in the next episode, I'll look at how new fire detection technologies fit into this framework and why proving performance within the regulatory system can be just as challenging as developing the technology itself. I'm Richard Cluth, and this has been The Critical Edge. Thanks for watching.